Before we get into it, let me just say this. There is a man who can divide by zero, who can slam a revolving door, and whose tears cure disease. Too bad he never cries. Today we are counting down the top 20 best Chuck Norris movies of all time. From his scrappy early martial arts films to his explosive action blockbusters, Chuck Norris did not just make movies, he made myths. So buckle up, because this countdown is going to hit harder than a roundhouse kick to the chest. Hi, my name is Max, and this is Top Movies. 20th place, Breaker, 1977. Every legend has to start somewhere, and for Chuck Norris, that somewhere was a dusty little action film about truckers and corrupt small-town sheriffs. Breaker follows J.D. Dawes, a truck driver who rolls into the town of Texas City, California, only to discover that the entire community is essentially a criminal operation run by a crooked judge with an iron fist and zero chill. When his younger brother goes missing, Dawes does what any reasonable man would do. He calls in every trucker in the region and starts kicking people through walls. Look, is this high cinema? No. Is it a masterpiece of narrative sophistication? Absolutely not. But it is the film that put Chuck Norris on the map as a leading man. And for that alone, it earns its spot on this list. There is a rawness here, an unpolished energy that actually works in the film's favor. You can feel a star in the making every time Norris steps on screen. 19th place, Good Guys Wear Black, 1978. 1 year after Breaker, Chuck Norris came back with something sharper, something with a little more substance behind the punches. Good Guys Wear Black is a taut political action thriller that follows John T. Booker, a former Special Forces commander who begins investigating why members of his elite unit are being systematically assassinated years after the Vietnam War. What sets this film apart from your typical action fare of the era is its willingness to dig into the murky world of government betrayal and political cover-ups. Norris brings a quiet intensity to Booker that feels genuinely compelling, and the film's conspiracy-driven plot keeps you engaged between the action sequences. It also features one of the most memorable stunts of the decade, as Norris launches himself through the windshield of a moving car with his feet first. No CGI, no safety net, just Chuck being Chuck. The film was a surprise box office success and proved that Norris had real star power beyond the dojo. 18th place, A Force of One, 1979. By 1979, Chuck Norris had found his lane, and A Force of One is perhaps the most confident he had looked on screen up to that point. The film follows Matt Logan, a karate champion who teams up with a group of undercover narcotics officers after a string of their colleagues are murdered by a mysterious assailant with lethal martial arts skills. What works beautifully here is the film's pacing. It takes its time building characters you actually care about before unleashing the action, which makes every fight sequence land with real emotional weight. There is also a surprisingly moving subplot involving a young boy Logan mentors, giving the story a warmth that balances out the intensity. Norris is in peak physical form here, and the climactic karate tournament showdown is the kind of sequence that makes you want to immediately call your old friends and describe every single detail. A Force of One is lean, focused, and deeply satisfying. A gem of late 70s action cinema. 17th place, The Octagon, 1980. Okay, confession time. The Octagon has some genuinely bizarre filmmaking choices, including an internal monologue voice effect that sounds like Chuck Norris is whispering his thoughts into a tin can, and yet somehow it works. The film follows Scott James, a retired martial arts champion who is reluctantly drawn into a battle against a secret ninja training camp that is literally breeding terrorists for hire. I know, stay with me. The concept is wilder than it sounds, but The Octagon delivers some of the most exciting ninja combat sequences of the entire era. Norris moves through the shadows with a physicality that feels genuinely dangerous, and the film's final assault on the Octagon, Shape Training Compound, is an extended action showcase that holds up remarkably well today. It also marked Norris leaning fully into the ninja mythology that would define so much of early 80s action cinema. Flawed, sure, but also completely unforgettable in all the right ways. 16th place, An Eye for an Eye, then 1981. An Eye for an Eye is the film where Chuck Norris truly began to feel like a fully formed screen presence. He plays Sean Kane, a San Francisco police detective who resigns from the force after his partner is killed during a drug bust, and the department seems more interested in covering things up than finding justice. What Kane does next should surprise nobody. He goes rogue, follows the trail himself, and delivers his own brand of justice one kick at a time. The film is elevated by a genuinely compelling supporting cast, particularly Christopher Lee, whose presence gives An Eye for an Eye a dramatic weight that most action films of this period simply did not have. There is a scene between Norris and Lee that plays almost like a proper character drama, two men circling each other verbally before the inevitable physical confrontation. It is one of the most underappreciated scenes in Norris's entire filmography. Tight, mean, and thoroughly entertaining, this one deserves far more attention than it gets. 15th place, Silent Rage, 1982. What happens when you take a Chuck Norris action film and decide, halfway through production, to also make it a horror movie? You get Silent Rage, one of the strangest and most entertaining entries in his entire career. Norris plays Sheriff Dan Stevens, a Texas lawman who finds himself facing off against a near-indestructible killer after a team of scientists uses experimental gene therapy to regenerate a violent psychopath back from the brink of death. Yes, this is essentially Chuck Norris versus a slasher villain, and it is every bit as glorious as that sounds. The horror elements are genuinely creepy. The action sequences are crisp and well choreographed, and Norris navigates the tonal shifts with more ease than you might expect. Silent Rage is the kind of film that sounds like a fever dream when described at a dinner party but plays surprisingly well on screen. It took real creative courage to blend these two genres, and the result is one of the most original films of Norris's entire career. 14th place, Forced Vengeance, 1982. 1982 was a busy year for Chuck Norris, and Forced Vengeance might be the more underrated of his two films from that year. Set in Hong Kong, the film follows Josh Randall, a security enforcer for a casino who finds himself hunted by a ruthless crime syndicate after the family that owns the casino refuses to sell their business. What makes Forced Vengeance stand out is its atmosphere. Filmed largely on location in Hong Kong, the movie crackles with an authentic urban energy that gives it a texture most American action films of the era lacked entirely. The neon-soaked streets, the crowded markets, the grimy back alleys, all of it combines to create a world that feels lived in and genuinely dangerous. Norris is excellent here, playing a man pushed past his limit with a controlled fury that never tips over into cartoonishness. The fight sequences are inventive, the pacing is relentless, and the whole thing moves like a freight train. Forced Vengeance is a seriously undervalued action film. 13th place, Lone Wolf McQuade, 1983. Now we are getting into the upper tier, and Lone Wolf McQuade is the film that arguably changed the trajectory of Chuck Norris's career forever. He plays J.J. McQuade, a maverick Texas Ranger who lives alone in the desert with his wolf and his truck, and his general unwillingness to follow any rules whatsoever. When a ruthless arms dealer begins trafficking weapons along the Texas-Mexico border, McQuade does what Texas Rangers apparently do best. He handles it personally, violently, and with extraordinary style. What elevates this film above standard action fare is its spaghetti western sensibility. Director Steve Carver clearly worshipped at the altar of Sergio Leone, and the film's dusty, sun-bleached aesthetic gives it a mythic quality that most action films of the era simply could not touch. There is also a scene where McQuade drives his buried truck out of the ground, using pure adrenaline that has absolutely no basis in physics whatsoever. And I love every second of it. David Carradine is magnetic as the villain, and his chemistry with Norris is electric throughout. Lone Wolf McQuade is where the legend truly crystallized. 12th place, Invasion USA, 1985. Few action films of the 1980s committed to their premise with the fearless, almost deranged enthusiasm of Invasion USA, And honestly, that is precisely what makes it so magnificent. The film follows Matt Hunter, a retired CIA operative living peacefully in the Florida Everglades, who is forced back into action when a Soviet-backed terrorist leader named Rostov launches a full-scale guerrilla invasion of the United States. Rostov, by the way, has a personal history with Hunter that makes their eventual confrontation feel genuinely loaded. The film does not waste a single minute. From its opening scenes, Invasion USA operates at a fever pitch of action and mayhem, with Chuck Norris dual-wielding grenade launchers, appearing seemingly everywhere at once, and generally making himself into a one-man army with zero apologies. Critics at the time were not particularly kind to this film, and honestly that tells you more about critics than it does about Invasion USA. For sheer relentless entertainment, this film is almost unmatched in the Norris canon. 11th place, Missing in Action 2, The Beginning, 1985. Here is something genuinely fascinating about the Missing in Action series. The second film, subtitled The Beginning, was actually filmed first and serves as a prequel to the original, but was released afterward once the first film became a massive hit. Make of that what you will. What matters is that Missing in Action 2 is a harrowing, intense piece of work that follows Colonel James Braddock as he endures years of brutal captivity in a Vietnamese prison camp before engineering a daring escape. Where the original film is propulsive and forward-moving, The Beginning takes its time in the darkness. The prison camp sequences are genuinely oppressive and difficult to watch, which makes Braddock's eventual defiance hit with tremendous emotional force. Norris is at his most physically and emotionally committed here, and the film's climax delivers a cathartic release that is enormously satisfying. It is a darker, grittier chapter in the Braddock saga, and in many ways the most emotionally complete film of the entire trilogy. 10th place, Code of Silence, 1985. If there is one Chuck Norris film that critics and casual film fans alike seem to agree on, it is Code of Silence, and for good reason. This is genuinely great filmmaking, not just great Chuck Norris filmmaking. Eddie Cusack is a Chicago police detective caught between a brutal gang war and deep corruption within his own department, forced to navigate both threats simultaneously while the city burns around him. Director Andrew Davis, who would later give us The Fugitive, brings a level of craft and visual sophistication to Code of Silence that elevates it far above its genre contemporaries. The action sequences are thrillingly staged, the performances across the board are strong, and Norris delivers what many consider the finest dramatic performance of his career. There is a complexity to Cusack, a moral weariness, that Norris communicates with impressive restraint. Code of Silence is the film that proves Chuck Norris could have been taken seriously as a dramatic actor if Hollywood had ever fully given him the chance. An absolute must-see. 9th place, The Delta Force, 1986. Based loosely on the 1985 hijacking of TWA Flight 847, The Delta Force is an action film that operates with genuine urgency and emotional weight. Lee Marvin and Chuck Norris lead an elite military unit tasked with storming a hijacked commercial airliner and rescuing the passengers from a terrorist organization. The film's first half, which depicts the hijacking itself and the terrified passengers aboard the plane, is remarkably restrained and genuinely tense. Then, Norris and Marvin arrive, and the film transforms into one of the most satisfying action spectacles of the entire decade. Norris rides a rocket launcher-equipped motorcycle through the streets of Beirut with the calm demeanor of a man who simply cannot conceive of failure, and it is one of the great action images of 1980s cinema. It was also one of Lee Marvin's final films before his passing, and his presence gives the movie a gravitas that money simply cannot buy. The Delta Force is thrilling, emotional, and enormously entertaining from start to finish. 8th place, Hero and the Terror, 1988. Hero and the Terror is the most dramatically ambitious film Chuck Norris ever made, and it does not get nearly enough credit for what it attempts. Norris plays Danny O'Brien, a Los Angeles detective haunted by a confrontation years earlier with a monstrous serial killer known only as Simon Moon. When Moon escapes from the institution where he has been held and begins killing again, O'Brien must confront not just the physical threat, but his own psychological trauma from their first encounter. What makes this film remarkable is its willingness to show a Chuck Norris character experiencing genuine fear and self-doubt. This is not a superhero in human clothing. This is a man wrestling with his own vulnerability, and Norris plays those quiet, interior moments with a sincerity that is genuinely touching. The film balances its horror thriller elements with real emotional depth, and the result is something that feels unique in the Norris filmography. It is proof that given the right material, he was capable of far more than audiences and critics typically gave him credit for. 7th place, Delta Force 2, The Colombian Connection, 1990. Delta Force 2 is bigger, louder, and considerably less nuanced than its predecessor. And in this particular case, that is absolutely a compliment. Scott McCoy, Norris's character from the original, returns to take on a massive Colombian drug cartel led by Ramon Cota, played with delicious villainy by Billy Drago. When Cota kills McCoy's partner and takes members of his family hostage, McCoy goes to war, and the film delivers on that premise with almost reckless generosity. The action sequences here are genuinely spectacular, with a parachute assault sequence in the film's third act that ranks among the most visually exciting set pieces of Norris's career. Drago is sensationally hateable as the villain, giving Norris a genuinely worthy antagonist to work against, and their final confrontation is enormously satisfying. Delta Force 2 is not trying to be art. It knows exactly what it is, commits to it completely, and delivers the goods with tremendous energy and style. Sometimes that is everything you need from an action film. 6th place, Walker, Texas, Ranger, Trial by Fire, 1993. By the early 1990s, Chuck Norris had found the role that would define his cultural legacy for an entirely new generation. Walker, Texas Ranger premiered in 1993 and became a genuine television phenomenon, and the pilot film Trial by Fire is where it all began. Cordell Walker is a Texas Ranger who fights crime with his fists, his horse, and an unwavering moral code in an era when American television desperately needed exactly that kind of hero. What makes Walker work so beautifully is the character's humanity. He is tough, yes, almost absurdly so, but he is also principled, compassionate, and deeply connected to his Native American heritage. Trial by Fire establishes all of those dimensions with surprising efficiency and warmth. Norris seems genuinely invested in Walker in a way that goes beyond the typical action vehicle, and that investment is visible in every frame. For an entire generation of viewers, Walker is Chuck Norris. And honestly, they are not wrong. 5th place, Top Dog, 1995. Okay, I know what you are thinking. Top Dog? Really? Hear me out. Jake Wilder is a rough-around-the-edges San Diego detective who is partnered against his will with a police dog named Reno after his previous partner is killed, investigating a white supremacist terrorist organization. Now, the premise sounds like a buddy comedy, and there are certainly comedic elements here, but Top Dog has a surprisingly dark and serious undercurrent running through its entire runtime. The film does not shy away from depicting the genuine ugliness of extremist ideology, and it handles that subject matter with more seriousness than you might expect from a movie that features a dog performing martial arts. Norris and his four-legged co-star have genuinely charming chemistry, and the film's action climax, set against the backdrop of a planned terrorist attack on the anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing, carries real emotional punch. Top Dog is an underrated gem that rewards viewers who give it the chance it deserves. 4th place, The Expendables 2, 2012. When Sylvester Stallone assembled the greatest action stars of multiple generations for The Expendables 2, the inclusion of Chuck Norris was not just a casting choice, it was a cultural event. Norris plays Booker, a lone wolf mercenary who appears at the most improbable moments to rescue the team from impossible situations, essentially functioning as the film's ultimate deus ex machina. And the film is completely self-aware about this, leaning into the Chuck Norris internet mythology with a knowing wink that delighted audiences worldwide. There is a scene where Norris's character recounts a Chuck Norris joke about himself, and the entire cinema erupts. But beyond the meta humor, Norris brings genuine screen presence to every moment he occupies in this film. Watching him, alongside Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, and Jason Statham, is a genuinely electric experience. a reminder that Norris belongs in that conversation. The Expendables 2 gave Chuck Norris a new generation of fans, and every single one of them went looking for his back catalog immediately afterward. Third place, Way of the Dragon, 1972. Before there was an action career, before there were Texas Rangers or Delta Forces or missing soldiers, there was a single fight sequence in a Roman Colosseum that announced to the entire world that Chuck Norris was something genuinely special. Way of the Dragon, written and directed by Bruce Lee, follows Tang Lung, a martial artist from Hong Kong who travels to Rome to help a family friend defend her restaurant against a local crime syndicate. The film is enormously entertaining throughout, but everything leads to the final confrontation between Lee and Norris in the Colosseum, a sequence that is widely regarded as one of the greatest fight scenes in the history of martial arts cinema. What makes it remarkable is its emotional texture. These are not simply two fighters exchanging blows. They are two men who respect each other profoundly. Locked in a conflict neither one truly wants. Norris holds the screen alongside Bruce Lee with remarkable dignity and physical authority. He was only in the early stages of his career, and already he was unmistakably a star. Second place, Missing in Action, 1984. Missing in Action arrived in 1984 and became one of the defining action films of its entire decade. Colonel James Braddock is a former prisoner of war who returns to Vietnam years after the conflict to expose the existence of American prisoners still being held in secret camps. The timing of the film's release, coming at a moment when America was still processing the wounds of Vietnam, gave Missing in Action a cultural resonance that went far beyond typical action movie entertainment. Braddock is not just a fictional character fighting fictional enemies. He represents something deeply felt, a fantasy of rectification, of going back and making things right. Norris understood the weight and carried it throughout the film with complete conviction. The action sequences are brilliantly staged, the tension is relentless, and the final rescue sequence is one of the most purely cathartic action climaxes of the entire decade. Missing in Action made Chuck Norris a genuine cultural phenomenon and remains one of the most powerful action films of its era. And in first place is Code of Silence, 1985. We have arrived, and after everything this countdown has covered, the #1 spot belongs to the film that represents Chuck Norris operating at the absolute peak of his powers. Eddie Cusack is not a superhero. He is not a mythic warrior or a one-man army operating outside the laws of physics. He is a cop, tired and principled, and relentlessly decent in a city that keeps trying to grind those qualities out of him. And in that character, Chuck Norris found something he rarely found anywhere else in his career. He found truth. Director Andrew Davis gives Code of Silence a visual and dramatic sophistication that places it in genuinely rarefied company. The film does not just work as an action thriller, it works as a character study, as a portrait of institutional corruption, and as a meditation on what it costs a man to keep doing the right thing in a world that punishes him for it. Every punch lands harder because we understand the man throwing it. Every moment of danger carries real stakes because we are invested in Cusack's survival on a human level. Code of Silence is the film Chuck Norris was always capable of making. It is a genuine masterpiece of American action cinema, and it sits at the top of this list right where it belongs. And there you have it. The top 20 best Chuck Norris movies of all time. From his first steps in front of a camera to his most celebrated performances, Chuck Norris built one of the most distinctive and enduring careers in the history of action cinema. Whether you grew up watching him on Walker, Texas Ranger, or discovered him through internet legend, there has never been anyone quite like him. If you enjoyed this countdown, give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe to Top Movies for more countdowns just like this one. We want to hear from you. Drop your favorite Chuck Norris film in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'm Max, and I'll see you in the next one.